Yeah.
Hello, everyone. What session we had with the investors today and the way the whole day is going. I'm pretty excited to see the remarks that we are getting, the observations that we are getting, both positive side and understanding how the domains are growing and exploring. With this, we know we are running late and all of our speakers are short of time. So quickly, I will be taking ahead for the next session. This session is focused on understanding the conventions and innovations when it comes to fetal bovine serum. Today with us, we have prominent speakers from across the globe. So we have Robin, who is founder at Peepal Farms, which is more into doing animal welfares and promoting the issues regarding animal safety and how to solve them. He understands on ground what is the problem when it comes to helping animals, why animals have to be saved, what is the socio impact of these processes. With us, along with Robin, we have Anil Wali sir. He is the director at BioCyTiH Foundation, one of the leading incubators and accelerators of India. Apart from that, we have Dr. Warke. He is the director at Himedia Laboratories, one of the leading setups in the globe, which is now taking charge of biotechnology setups, providing research support, and assisting various startups. Apart from this, we also have Beat. He is the founder as Kenya, which makes animal-free proteins, I would say, if I'm correct. Without going for any delay, let me directly hop on to questions and start the panel discussion. I will start my first question with Robin. Robin, with the thought of helping those who can't help themselves, can you help us understand what's the scenario when we speak of animal factory farms and what's the impact both socially and ecologically?
I mean, see, the first impact directly on the animals. I mean, they are as capable of feeling all the emotions like us. So they feel love, they feel fear, they experience pain. And because of the demand for cheap animal protein, animals are put through horrible suffering. I'm not even talking about slaughter is kind of just kind of liberating them. So the way they are mass produced causes an immense amount of suffering. Now when we talk about the ecological impact, I mean, of course, because we are raising so much grain to feed these animals, also all this animal farming is very uses a lot of water, which already is a precious resource. India is going into a water crisis. So there's that impact. But one thing that a lot of people are not talking about related to factory farming of animals is antimicrobial resistance. Because in the other things, at least I have a chance, or as a consumer, I can choose to not participate by not consuming meat. But when it comes to antimicrobial resistance, even I am at risk because of the way meat is being produced for other consumers. There's so much antibiotic use. And we went to these poultry farms, and other than giving antibiotics just to raise chickens to an X amount of weight really quickly, to counter the unhygienic conditions they are raised, there is a lot of antibiotic use.
Yeah, I totally agree. And that is the main reason we even at ClearMeat have started this initiative. And I feel obliged to serving the whole thought process on those lines. Coming to Wali sir, with the cruelty and sustainability in mind, as Robin has identified, you having more than 20 years of experience in supporting startups and bridging the gap between industry and innovation, do you think India is on the right path to find innovators to resolve it? Or is it too early, or there is something going in the background?
So, thank you, Siddharth. First of all, am I audible? I think.
Yes, sir, you're
Fine. So I think that, first of all, thanks for involving me in this discussion. I wish I could have spent more time here. And a good question indeed. So I think, had you asked this question about maybe 6, 7 years ago, perhaps the answer would have been yes, there are difficulties. But now I think going forward, it's heartening to note that many of the youngsters today, right from college days today, are actually thinking of solving real-time problems that they see around us. So to that extent, I think we can say at one level, people have the youngsters, the entrepreneurs are, or the innovators even, are thinking of solving real-time problems. That's one thing. It could be that in a particular domain, the ecosystem as such, the support ecosystem or the business ecosystem, manufacturing or R&D ecosystem may not be evolved, in which case, obviously, you will see lack of activity. But in those cases where the entire environment, the ecosystem, be it for designing, the talent, availability of talent, the industry, manufacturing, market, etc., is all involved, you will see all the startups, the innovators, the entrepreneurs fully involved in there. So, to your question, in general, yes, I think there is lack. I won't say there is lack of a gap. The gap is being adequately addressed by the entrepreneurs, by the innovators, and I'm making a distinction between entrepreneurs and innovators because the innovators is a step for that, and also the students who are on the threshold of getting onto the entrepreneurial bandwagon. So I don't foresee or see any difficulty here on as of now. And then so far as industry academia issue is concerned, we see industry coming forward and talking to academia, and many in the academia, at least in the more evolved ones, the A-listed universities and institutes who are in the game and want to get involved in solving problems, both the short-term problems as well as problems which have a larger impact in the society.
great, sir. It's heartening to see that, yes, you also feel the confidence that, yes, there are startups who are focusing on this area. But moving ahead from startups, do you feel investors realize the impact of such innovations? Is it something that startups and industries have to change the way they present it to the consumer before actual impact or on sustainability and climate change?
So, thankfully, the entire environment today, I'm not just saying these are, whether we talk of climate change, the greenhouse, the energy transition, these are no more catchwords. Now, these are real issues which are being talked about by all the players in the ecosystem, be it the people for the government, the multilateral bodies, the banks, or even the investors. Because see, it takes time for investors to come in. But the way they have started looking at the bigger picture, I see that there's a healthy environment today wherein the investors have started talking about these major issues. Now, how much of it actually translates into real-time investments? I think it's still some way to go, more particularly in areas where I think whether the regulatory framework or the businesses have not fully evolved. So there, I think there is still some distance to cover for the investors. But I think in other areas where things are quite clear, I think they are there already.
Glad to see that, yes, you can feel both from the startup arena and from the investor point of view, things are evolving. People are trying to understand. And yes, you rightly pointed. 6 years back, if I would have asked you, the zone was empty. But now there is an awareness. People are getting involved on every front, from policy, investors, incubators, and likewise. Moving on these lines, Robbins, I want to specifically understand. So do you feel, so let me first give the audience a brief about fetal bovine serum, because the whole conversation is around that only, which I did not speak of. So normally when we speak of growing cells in lab, it uses fetal bovine cells, fetal bovine serum as one of the main nutrient to provide energy to the cells so that they can multiply. Now this fetal bovine serum is obtained by killing calves. So there is a direct impact. So be it cultivated meat or routine research, everything has a direct impact on sustainability, animal farming, animal cruelty. So now that we have an understanding from social impact to innovation and market readiness, sorry, do you feel pushing alternative to fetal bovine serum will have an impact on after a certain duration?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, one, of course, it will have an impact on cows, so that's great. Also, I think from a market standpoint, when you are growing lab meat without fetal bovine serum, it will have a much higher market acceptance, because in India, even people who do consume meat have a lot of reasons, social reasons, religious reasons, to stay away from cow meat. So that's why this is really pivotal to the success of cultured meat in India.
Great to see that from a social factor also, you feel that it will have
Does
a
that
long-term.
make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense because it gives me a perspective as a founder to understand, yes, on the ground, people are making sense of how it can be applied. People might not be aware of the technology, but there are some connections that can be made, that people can be made aware of. And on these lines, let me ask Beat in that case. So Beat, you have seen Robin discussing about the social impact, the long-term acceptance from a non-scientific person. Wali sir discussing about innovations, investors, startups. Now, you are working on the lines of identifying solutions which are animal free. So you have been working on implementing innovations to replace animal derived products, if I'm correct. What has pushed you to work on this and how are the consumers accepting it?
To give you a historical background, so I started in a biopharmaceutical company, and here this industry started in 1990, early 1990, to remove all BS animal components, and far and foremost FCS, and we can learn from this path they've made. They also started with peptones and so on. And then I came after this particular time to ecotoxicology. And here they still use, they haven't moved away quite far, still use FCS. And then I've started to develop serum-free media for those cell lines. And I achieved some results. And then I've seen they also using S9 liver fraction. And S9 liver fraction is derived from rats at the moment, and also humans, but rats are exclusively cultured cultivated for harvesting their livers after intoxication. So it's quite cruel, and the batch-to-batch variations are quite high, and this is the major point as well, also for the scientific community. So the batch-to-batch variations are also for FBS quite high. The reproducibility is poor, and therefore here we can really find some acceptance in the scientific community to simply argue not on ethics, because that does not solve the problem in the scientific way, because they want to have good data, and here we have to really argue on price and the reproducibility. That's how it is at the moment. The consumer does not care about ethics that much. At first money comes, and then the scientific reputation.
Not only cows that are being butchered, but there are various animal categories that are being affected by the whole process of cell culture or routine research. I totally agree with you. Warke sir, I will be now coming to you. You have seen, so from the discussions and from your involvement in the industry, biotech industry to be very specific, you see innovations are being identified and supported in the right way through incubators like BioCyTiH, through companies like Singh. Now, Himedia has been involved globally in the R&D sector of biotechnology since 1973. You have seen the transition in understanding this industry, the transition to see making something innovative, something which has huge potential on market, making products for the market, and identifying, I would put it this way, and identifying more sustainable ways of doing it. So from a sustainability perspective, how do you see the change or shift happening?
Thank you very much for inviting us to this forum. So essentially, if the world becomes vegetarian, a lot of problems will be solved, right? Because using plant-based meat, that's one good thing, plant-based meat, but plant source proteins are enough to nourish the body. We all know that. But because the world wouldn't move to that and they want to consume animals, and that's why we are talking about solutions where we are using cultivated meat, which could be sustainable, animal cruelty-free. And along with that, in this forum, the related question we have is about fetal bovine serum, which also goes into a lot of other cell culture applications and research-based applications, as well as production applications, like vaccine production, where instead of fetal bovine serum, you also have adult bovine serum and newborn calf serum, so on and so forth. So basically, looking at the cells, what they need is carbon source, a nitrogen source. If you go down to the basics, then how do you make sure that the required nutrition is being provided? So, because mammalian cells are very complex, including maybe the avian and the fish, if you consider all those together, we started switching one by one. Hydrolysates, as Pete also mentioned, is one good option, and that's a good protein source. So in Himedia, what we did was we set up hydrolysate production for ourselves because we are a legacy microbiology media manufacturer. And in that, there's a lot of beef peptone that is used. And that's very traditional, coming from Louis Pasteur and Robert Koch hundreds of years ago. And then we set up a whole range of plant-based hydrolysates, which are blends. So if you have liver extract, then we have a blend of plant-based hydrolysates from different plant sources, which is a switch for liver extract, so on and so forth. So if there is a beef heart infusion, so all these things, brain heart infusion, so there are many such things that are used. So we created these switches from plant-based proteins, and they are working really well. Coming to the animal cell culture, which is my division, because Himedia being a large family-owned company, I'm one of the directors there. And what we have been trying to see is how can we first reduce the cost also, along with making things sustainable. Because coming back to the cultivated meat segment, as long as the cultivated meat is expensive compared to the slaughtered animal meat, people would always look at the price. The very sensitive ones, where people are very conscious, they wouldn't mind paying a premium. But even that has a certain limit. They wouldn't want to pay 3x or 5x. Maybe 20%, 30% more than the slaughtered animals would be okay. So on one hand, what we are trying to see is how can we actually scale up and get the raw materials sourced at the right price points. So amino acids are critical, and amino acids can be either substituted by protein hydrolysates, that's one option, or which is a cheaper option, and that's something the industry would have to eventually go to. And the second is to have low-cost amino acid production done. So looking at everything put together, it's an ongoing process where we are trying to see how we can scale things up, source the raw materials at a lower price point, and along with that, do bioprocess optimization with different cells. For example, we have avian cells, fish cells with us. And so media component shift, growth factor addition, along with bioprocess optimization, all this put together would help us to develop serum-free media at a lower price point. And we have set up a media manufacturing facility right now, which is able to produce 60,000 kilos of media per day, 20 tons of media per shift. So this is an overkill, but we have done this because the chicken and egg story is that unless you have the scale, you cannot crash the price. And somewhere you have to bite the bullet and take the leap. So that's what we have done. And we can leverage this for vaccine production media, for biopharmaceutical manufacturing like CHO cells and gene therapy kind of media applications, as well as for other applications such as plant tissue culture, because this facility is flexible. So this is a big risk we have taken, But we are able to take this risk because we are able to defray or utilize this facility for other productions too. Yeah, I would like to end here. So I hope that gives you some idea of what we are trying to do.
No, thank you very much, sir, for giving that insight. Because see, from a biotechnology perspective, as an entrepreneur, we do know these numbers, and I'm glad you shared these numbers on this podium today. Because for an audience, it is very difficult to realize the impact we as biotechnologists do, and what we have been pushing, how alternatives are being induced, how sustainability is being pushed. For us, it's a 3-year, 5-year job that takes an application of at least 10 years. So I do realize it's a very tough call that you might have taken while creating a facility in India. And if I am right, do correct me. India was, till you created a facility, only importing fetal wine serum and related ingredients. But now with your facility, these ingredients will be becoming coming under the Make in India initiative. And we are glad to see such initiatives being pushed, like from companies like Himedia, who realize and understand the importance. And it's glad to see the sustainability factor is being pushed through in-house companies also, because from our roadshows in the last couple of years, we have realized that India was always in the back foot when it came to sustainability and climate change. Post G20, we can see a shift happening. Even in the morning sessions, we had a discussion where everyone was discussing how India is becoming more and more confident and more resilient to give out more sustainable solutions. So yes, I think collectively, thank you for sharing those numbers. And yes, this is something which is required for the audience, which is not connected directly, but to understand. Coming to Beat, you have been making animal-derived proteins. You've started doing that from your innovations. So keeping generic to alternative to fetal wine serum, apart from price, yes, we do realize price is a factor. That is one of the first pain point to get an acceptance to any product. But what are the challenges you are facing in making such products getting the acceptance?
So the challenges are also easy to handle. So FBS is quite easy to handle. Simply add it to a really poor base medium. And here, maybe we have to change the paradigm a little bit in the scientific community, because we have to think what the cells need, as previously was mentioned. We have to know what carbon source, obviously glucose, but in which concentration they need it, and which amino acid composition they need, and everything. So we have to make a tailor-made nutritional a map for each cell line to have the best result at the end. And this is a little bit delaying the acceptance a little because you need a lot of time to achieve it. What we've started here at Sinora is we focus on chemically defined media. So we have all the metabolites, all the trace elements included in the medium. Yeah, it's highly priced at the end in comparison to what cultivated meat really has to achieve in the future by using hydrolysates, peptones, and so on. But this is for, let's say, the alternatives of animal testing. So where you simply need not as much medium as you need in a large scale process, but you need to have a really natural pathway at the end. And also keep in mind, I also have to speak with customers. BSA is not a natural compound for many cells. Yes, for blood cells, or let's say brain cells, they never see actually BSA. BSA is not transferable from cell to cell. It's a bulky protein in the blood. It transports the small molecules, the lipids and whatever. So we anyway work with an artificial system at the moment. So we have to go step forward and make it less artificial in a more complex way. But yeah, the balance of price, complexity, easy to handle, we have to keep in mind and also talk with the customers at the end.
Yeah, I do realize that, because we at Claimit have been pushing such products also, and one of the portfolio product is ClearX9, which is into alternative to fetal wine serum. And as Vishal sir identified, and as you identified, so there is not only one component, but there are multiple components that are associated with providing the nutrition, and we have to think on multi-factors before we become providing more sustainable ways of growing cells. So, sir, Vishal sir, I will come back to you and I will ask you, you have seen this industry grow. You are seeing startups, you are interacting with startups like us. And we startups normally see Himedia as one of the, because from a Make in India initiative, again, sorry, Beat, but we see Himedia as one of the companies that we see for guidance, understanding how they have evolved in the market, what strategies they are adopting, what new factors or what new initiatives they are taking to better understand, because you have a more wider reach when it comes to biotechnology and the research associated to it. Now, on these lines, yes, you are doing innovations, you are pushing alternative methods, you are pushing sustainable methods. But from your experience, personal experience, I want to know, does the consumer and the manufacturer truly care about climate change and sustainabilities?
Yeah, it's yes and no, because depends on whom we are talking about. And but today, if few people care, as we move forward, more and more people would be concerned, and they have to be concerned, because things will slowly align in this direction, and they are, or maybe rapidly align, because once you have the Kyoto Protocol, the Paris Accord in place, and they are, so countries are signatories to that, and carbon credits, that's a lucrative business, and it's a monetizable business too. So essentially, if you have the benefit of the planet divested or separated from finance and economics, it doesn't work. Somehow these two are getting aligned now. People who have money are willing to invest in things that will make the planet better, right? And so as this happens, even those people who are looking primarily at the economics of things, who want to make money or who are looking at the financial part, who wouldn't care about one versus the other, will also get dragged, because just the carbon credits market is going to be $25 trillion in many years, in a couple of decades, they say. So when this is going to happen, thankfully, people who are not concerned today will start getting concerned and aligned. And the way the planet is going in terms of the degradation happening, in terms of the global warming happening, and right now there are heat waves happening in Southeast Asia, and there's a heat wave imminent in India. So with all this happening and the ice caps melting, so many things will happen. So essentially, right now we don't see many people aligned to ESG or sustainability, because generally the world is driven more by finance and economics. Plus, there are geopolitics where wars and such things force people to move away from sustainable solutions to traditional solutions which are not very eco-friendly. So we don't know where the whole thing goes, but net, in 10 to 20 years from now, everything will get aligned in one direction, because then the planet might have reached the ICU stage instead of the ward, like a patient. And there is no way we can ignore it. So there is no way we can ignore it. That's what I would say.
Yeah, you are absolutely right, because in the morning sessions also we realized that now countries are becoming more focused, not only geopolitically understanding the whole thought process from sustainability, climate change, but food security is steadily taking place. Every country is getting more and more aware about food security and how it will impact on the longer run. I remember we had a discussion with some of the authorities of Singapore that they were more focused on these discussions a couple of years back, and now India is thinking on those lines. Now, Beat, I will quickly come to you. So you have been based in Switzerland, and from my observations of Switzerland has been actively promoting sustainability, climate change at various fronts. This is not something that's new to Switzerland. Now, from your local experience and how innovations are evolving, what discussions are going on in the last couple of years, you have seen this journey from a country or a nation who is pushing alternatives or sustainable methods. So for you, what does the future hold ultimately for sustainable meat solutions?
It should be, so let's start with cultivated meat, because that's what we are working on. Cultivated meat will not replace meat totally. So if you will see people who are eating meat, the natural grown ones, and it's okay, I guess. But cultivated meat does give options and to customers, so they can finally eat exotic meat of animals you can't breed and whatever. But more for more on the nutritional aspect, maybe plant-based products are better, or fermented products are also good because they are easily to scale up and you don't need that much investment. At the moment, cultivated meat is too expensive. Maybe in 10-20 years we reach a certain price parity to conventional meat, but up to now, with all the bioreactors and setup costs and media and raw material, it's too expensive. But it's more sustainable in terms of land use. So if you, especially Switzerland, we have limited space, and also the Netherlands and also Singapore, you see and also Israel, you see the certain correlation there. And in countries with where you have a limited land accessibility or resources in general, so oil or gold or whatever, you are relying on a more sustainable way of living. And therefore Switzerland has built up this environment of sustainability because of this as well, because to have a more sustainable source of feeding the people who are living in Switzerland.
Yeah, thank you for that perspective, because I do realize Switzerland has been working very hard, and I agree with you. There are many factors that are associated. This is not only one factor of plant-based, but consumer acceptance, how government policies push, and how things evolve. And yes, meat will always, lab-grown meat or cultivated meat, I personally also am of the thought process that it will never be a replacement for traditional meat due to various reasons which Vishal sir also identified. But yes, it will become part of the whole chain, and slowly, steadily, it will have an impact on the whole Earth's climate change thought processes. With this, Vishal sir, I have one more last question for you. You have opened various, so Himedia has opened various avenues globally. It is exploring new areas, identifying new methods of adopting technologies that it has created. Now, what role do consumer preferences and perceptions play in shaping the demand for sustainable cell-based meat?
It's region specific, I would say, because as we also mentioned, countries that have a smaller landmass, they are looking for food security, and they are pushing for cultivated meat to be mainstream much quicker. So today we are working with a lot of customers who are based in, let's say, Israel, Singapore, Australia, and such countries. So countries that have laws that protect their biodiversity, do not want foreign genetic material to come in, or countries that have a smaller landmass and have concerns about food security. That's one. Second thing is the exoticity, because springbok, or so many exotic animals. You have deep sea tunas, bluefin, yellowfin tuna, whale hunting. So nations that have a high GDP, that have a socially conscious population, environmentally conscious population, who have the ability to pay money. Because certain companies, for example, in the cultivated meat space, have made products that are today in Michelin star rated restaurants. And these are specialized products like parfait and specialized products. These are made with meat cells. So there is an element of exoticity or uniqueness or premiumness to this flavor, the presentation of the food. So yeah, it'll pick up, it'll grow, but then like cell phones, for example, when they came, the smartphones were not ubiquitous. And I'm especially talking of countries like India, which still are in the upswing. In the, as you say, the southern part of the world, or what, the global south, sorry, that's the right word, the global south. And a major part of the global population lives there. So we have to balance this. In the global north, so to say, the developed world, these things, the cultivated meat is catching up, and it will go into pockets. And then from there, as the prices come down, if we are successful in that, it will spread. One thing which I feel, this is kind of out of the box, but AI will really help, because with AI and algorithms, if we can break down and completely analyze the metabolomics and the nutrient requirements of the cells as they grow in different conditions, with a minimalistic nutrient formulation, the cells can be made to grow better. Because today a lot of the media has a lot of expensive components which are not utilized by the cells. So a lot of the components are wasted. So one thing is, there are companies which are working on this in Israel. We have a lot of companies who are working on perfusion-based methods, recycling of the media, and seeing how certain components can be reused, especially the expensive ones. So this is moving forward where the industry would move, and the acceptability would really increase, is what I feel. And it will then go down. It will reach the grassroots and the common man. If you look at the pyramid, so at the apex are the rich nations or the affording people in even the entire world. And from there, as it crosses each technological barrier and it moves downwards, price-wise, technology-wise, then it should be globally acceptable to all. So in India today, for example, even the poorest of the poor, like the milkman or the washerman, carries a smartphone. This was unthinkable even 15 years ago or 20 years ago. It couldn't even be thought of. So this is something that can happen to this industry, and let's see where it goes.
Yeah, I totally agree. How India's digital transformation happened, that was also surprising to see. It was not predicted it will so fast accept or adopt to such transformations. So with this, I do realize I have taken a lot of the time from you guys, and I will take the final remarks. So first I will ask Beat, what is your closing remark for today?
There are many, but simply my closing remark is, as was previously mentioned, using AI or whatever you use, you have to look at the cells and to grow them better, to get better prices at the end, and also hear to the customers what they really want. And then we have to find a way for the future how we treat the cells and also the animals at the end.
Yeah, Vishal sir, yes, I do agree with you, and I have seen. So to be very honest, it's a collaboration. So a collaboration between startups like us, working of innovations by Beat, companies like these, and hardcore manufacturers like you, who have to collaborate and work together to make sense to this industry and to make everything possible, from sustainability and climate change. Meat solution is one of the perspective of that. But what are your closing thoughts on that?
Yeah, so earlier companies worked in silos, and they kind of competed with each other. But as I say in some of the talks where I speak, that competition and cooperation both are 11-letter words. So instead of competing, one should cooperate or collaborate. And that's the need of the hour today, because the planet should come first. Otherwise, our generation will go down in history as one of the worst people, because we are at the inflection point. If we don't do the right things, which we can, and if only commerce and economics is going to rule and control, profit is the prime motive, right? If only that controls, and if things go really bad, then people won't remember as well. We will be looked down upon. The future generations won't be happy, and the planet would be a worse off place. So one thing is we collaborate, join hands. So what Himedia does is we actually incubate a lot of startups, and we try to see how we can help each other, how we can foster their growth, how we can nurture their growth by supporting them with the infrastructure we have, and also supporting them in terms of selling their product. So one is in R&D, production, and then companies also need to sell their product. So to sell, we see what best we can do. Of course, there are many constraints, such as the board of directors and in which direction we are moving. But my thought process primarily is to see how we can join the dots and build a force moving forward, so that we can work for a general good. So profit, economics, sustainability, and a collaborative effort all go hand in hand.
Yeah, I totally agree with you that, sir. And with that, I thank you all for giving your valuable time and sharing your thoughts on the whole idea. And this is what we at ClearMeet have been trying to achieve, bringing more and more collaboration, bringing in more and more thought sharing, creating a platform so that the consumer is aware, the manufacturer is able to make the consumer understand what they are doing, and bridging the gap between the application and how it is being done. So I again thank you, both of you. I know my two speakers have left because of time. So I thank you, both of you, for giving your valuable time. And you will be surprised, we are having, I think, 800 plus viewers as of now. I do not doubt anyone contacting you guys for more products and more associations. So we look forward for future collaborations with you guys. And thank you again for your valuable time.
Thank you as well.
Thank you.
Have a nice day.
Thank you.
Nice. Bye.
Thank you, sir. So for the audience, it was a very interesting session to understand the innovations and how the manufacturers and the consumers will behave. What is the thought process from the startup perspective, from an innovation perspective, from an incubator perspective, and from people who are actually into animal saving, figuring out ways how to make ground realities a practice. Now, with that, let me take you to the next session, which is more focused around consumer awareness, and we have such wonderful speakers on that. So with this, I say thank you for attending my particular part of the session. Looking forward for your presence to the next session also. And we now shift to our next session. Thank you.